Welcome to another episode of The Last Word on Rugby. Sure, we were treated to a magnificent test at Eden Park. Unlucky for the Boks, losing out by 7 points there. We won't go too much into detail in that last 5 minutes and the elongated rucks of one team and the short rucks of another team. Players lying all over the ball, having their hands in the in the rucks. Boys, welcome back, Mike, John. Yes, I fairly enjoyed after settling down after doing player ratings and giving the boys their bad marks for another performance where they started so slowly. Um, After watching once, twice again, you could actually see that picture where you could think for yourself, but yes, like the Boks should not have been by 14 points to 3 down at some stage. They were actually poor at the beginning. Slip tackles, losing their ball, all of that. It really impacted their game, and fighting back from 14 points down against the All Blacks, it's not any team can do that. So hopefully on Saturday in Wellington, they won't have the same thing to do. An exciting team picked, but we're here to unpack things on The Last Word on Rugby. If you haven't yet, click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and then, yeah, follow us for all the rugby talks that we will bring to you every week. Mike, as the guys who covered the game, John, you did the takeaways. We will get to those takeaways now. But Mike, disappointing that the Boks started off that way.
Yeah,
And they could have done better to salvage
yeah,
some points in that first
yeah. Look, I'm
16.
I'm I'm gonna come out firing a bit here, play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Let's get the show up and running. Yeah. I'm wondering if Jacques Nienaber was still the defense coach of the Springboks, whether the guys would be slipping tackles as they are. And I mean
Well,
the number of tries the Springboks have conceded so far in the Rugby Championship is actually quite staggering. And look, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that there's like Jacques gone and the Springboks are evolving. I'm just saying we're a little bit betwixt and between the Springboks at the moment. They're kind of, I wouldn't say it's an identity crisis, but in this evolution towards attack, I think our defense is just a little bit stressed. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing that we've got Tony Brown and we're trying to score more tries. But I just think that when you are more attack orientated, if there are turnovers, your defense becomes more stressed. Um, and yeah, look, I mean, and having said that, some of those tackles were just individual errors. But again, I'm wondering now if our focus is so much on attack that we're forgetting how to tackle. And yeah, I mean, under Jacques Nienaber and how they played at the last two World Cups, I am absolutely certain they wouldn't have been 14-0 down after 12 minutes or something like that. But like I said, the Springboks are evolving, and no one knows better than Rassie and his team that there's something is rotten in the state of Denmark when it comes to the Springbok defense, because I mean they 9 tries against the Wallabies, a couple more within the start of this game. They are leaking too many tries. Full stop.
John,
And
would you
those
say,
tries,
sorry, would you say that it is a defensive thing? Is it more like Mike said? Yes, they are trying to evolve on the attack, but is it a defensive thing in terms of they are missing what Jacques Nienaber brought, or they're trying to tweak things under Jerry Flannery to complement the attack?
I think at the moment, Mike spoke about and maybe a bit of an identity crisis. I think it's when I look at the defense, I don't see the same line speed as was in the previous years, especially during the period between 2018 and 2023, where the line speed and putting teams under pressure with a massive rush defense tackling from outside in. That was sort of the plan there. And for that to happen, you need discipline, you need plenty of line speed, you need aggression, you need to back yourself. I think one of the great examples of that was in the World Cup where Peter Steph the tour, he knew he had to get to Geordie Barrett in that second half because there was about a two-man overlap, and he had to get to Geordie Barrett, and he nailed it. And at the moment, I think the line speed and the decision making on defense is a bit of a problem. But having said that, if you look at both tries came from errors on attack. I think that the first try was a result of Andre Pollard's indecision. He took the ball flat and he gave sort of a wishy-washy pass outside, and that ball was spilled. The All Blacks kicked the ball downfield. Cheslin had to kick into touch. They got the line out, cross kick. The winger went through Willy's legs and scored. The other one was where the ball was turned over. Kanan Moody, then instead of keeping hold of the ball, maybe taking a better option there, kicked it straight down Bowden Barrett's throat. He then kicked a fluke 50-22 with his left foot. They scored from there. So for me at the moment, while Mike is saying that the attack is having an influence, but I think if you look at those two tries, it was just bad decision making on attack that actually led to those tries. And from then on, the third try came from the yellow card. Quagga Smith, obviously, I think that was a yellow card for me. That was a repeated infringement, but that was also cynical. So fair play for that one. But I think the first two came from bad option taking on attack, and not really. If you're 14 points down against the All Blacks and it's raining as well, and you've got to play some catch up, it's really difficult to then erase that lead.
Yeah, and I want to ask this question, Mike. Is the Springboks in a bit of a chameleon phase in terms of what they want to do with that attack and how they want to use their defense, and are they chopping and changing a bit too much? Because there's kind of no consistency in this year. You would have thought if they were trying to give a lot of young players game time, they would follow that game plan that worked for those new kind of guys, the all-out attack and doing that. But then suddenly it comes to winning again, and you revert to the Skopskiet and Donor, as John likes to refer to it. And sometimes that indecisiveness creeps in when you are between those attacks.
Yeah, I think the Springboks are not quite sure what their DNA is right now. Well, they know what their traditional DNA is, and I think they want to forge a new DNA. By the time they get to the 2027 World Cup, they want to have evolved into a team that can revert back to that direct, what typical Springbok rugby, if required. But they want to be able to score tries as well. They don't want to have to rely on Andre Pollard's boot to get them 1-point victories. They realize that they've got to actually move on from that. And I think where the Springboks are right now is they're not entirely sure what kind of beast they are right now. We've got a test match on Saturday where Eben Etzebeth is not playing against the All Blacks. Now, that would have been, that's like our most potent forward in the way we play against the All Blacks. But Eben's being rested. So I think we are seeing that Rassie is still planning. He's still doing a lot of planning. Who would have thought you'd rest Eben Etzebeth against the All Blacks in Wellington? And there's a few others as well. And then you wonder as well, and again, I have no idea whether I'm flying a kite here, but are those senior Springboks, those old guys who won 2 World Cups, are they all fully on board on how the direction the Springboks are going? I'm just like sort of putting it out there. This is a Springbok team in flux. I wonder if they're all completely on board. Are they all going Tony ball? Are there some of those senior guys saying, but hey, this is our DNA, this is how we win games? And I think the Springboks are in a little bit of I wouldn't say dangerous place, but a bit of a vulnerable sort of phase as they try to move on from what has worked forever and try and find something that will win them the World Cup. But is it going to be costing them winning games now? Because now if they lose on Saturday, we're talking now, they already lost 2 out of 3 of their Rugby Championship games. If they lose on Saturday, they 1 from 4. And the Rugby Championship's gone, and then it's crisis mode, and then the whole of South Africa is going to be saying, what happened to the Springboks? Why aren't they playing what works for them? They must go back to Skopskiet and Donner. So the pressure is on you, you know, how Rassie and Tony Brown and the rest of them want to take the Springboks is under the microscope on Saturday. The burners are on, the fire is there, the heat is there. If they lose on Saturday, where do they go from there?
I tell you what, Mike, in terms of Skopskiet and Donner, and part of the Skopskiet and Donner is a line-out that's going well, a mole that is dominating. Yeah. And I don't even think they are doing the Skopskiet and Donner stuff well at the moment. The breakdown is a problem. Fair play to the All Blacks. I think what we saw on Saturday was those All Black teams of the past where they actually test the referee. Yeah. They lie and you look at them and they're looking deliberately up at the ref to try and check what am I doing, and the ref is looking Scott Barrett in the eye. No, Scott, get off there, please, instead of penalizing him. And that's the sort of game. But they're not doing the Skopskiet and Donner right, the basics, because our lineout is our biggest weapon. But then if you look at entries into the 22, and there were 12 of them, and I think the Boks converted 1 or 2 of them. And into points, and that is where I think Tony Ball comes in, is that they want to maybe finish off teams better when they enter the 22. Last season we saw it because of first phase ball, when they get into the 22 and they have a line-out or a scrum, they delivered. But this year, because the line-out isn't working properly, we're not seeing them actually killing off teams when they get into the 22. So I think we go back to Skopskiet and Donner. I think we have to do Skopskiet and Donner better for the attack to thrive.
Yeah. 100%. Speaking about that attack, this weekend's team, it looks like they are going for broke at this stage. We all know the weather can play a massive influence in that, and Rassie said on Monday with his Monday team announcement. Come on, we waited for Monday team announcement last week and we got a Thursday. But he said it's no rain has been predicted, but it will start to rain towards the end of the week. So hopefully they're training in wet weather and all of that. But how exciting is that back line? Yeah. It looks very exciting. But the main thing for them will be to be clinical, to take those 15 entries into the 22 and convert 5, 6, 7, 8 of them and come back with points.
Yeah. I actually looked at the weather forecast for Saturday just before we went on the show, and 30% of chance of rain through the morning and afternoon, and then fairly clear for kickoff. So let's hope that it's not raining. I mean, you never know. It was supposed to be something similar last week in Auckland, but it rained. But when I look at that back line, I see energy, I see attack, I see X factor, I see running, I see tries. That is clearly a back line, and I think Tony Brown would have been smiling when that backline got announced and probably had a very big say in it. But that is a backline much younger than last week. And I think for me, a very big clue is looking at who's on the bench. It's not like they've got Andre Pollard for insurance on the bench. we're in trouble in the last 20, let Andre come on and kick. They're going for broke. It's Marnie, Lebok, and it's Grant Williams backing up those X-Factor players that are starting. And that tells me that the Boks, it's a tattoo one. You look at that backline, what else can it be? I mean, there's no traditional bashers in the midfield there. There's no Damien. And I'm not saying those guys are now dropped and discarded. I think this was a premeditated selection in some ways. I think they were always going to, for this game, rest that midfield. But I mean, there's Damien, while he can be creative, is predominantly, a route one carry of the ball. So is Jesse, and now we're replacing them with Damian Willemse and Kane and Moody, who are athletes who can create stuff out of nothing. And wow, look at those guys outside them, fussy back. So yeah, I'm excited, and hopefully that rain does stay away, and we've got a pack that can give that backline ball. He's kept quite a lot of stability there. And the task will be, you guys provide these guys with front foot ball and let them have some fun.
John,
Just
I don't know
hoping,
how you see it.
I'm just hoping Jasper Wiese stays on the field long enough to have an
Stay in the game.
Yeah, I think, as you say, I think this is the first choice loose trio, definitely for me, when everybody is fit and firing. Jasper Wiese, I think his presence at the back of that scrum, the Boks have missed really, because of his direct carrying and the way he moves bodies at the clearing out rucks as well. His work rate there. I don't know how is he going to go. Is he going to go the full 80? I mean, he hasn't played a game of rugby since Italy in Trebega. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just touching on this backline, I think this is also maybe a view into the future, where we see where in 2 years' time after the World Cup, we're not going to see a Damien de Allende anymore. There's going to be no more Jesse Creel. It's probably going to be no more Andre Pollard. So this is probably a look into the future, and a massive opportunity for these guys to actually get going. I'm looking forward to seeing Sasha and Damien Willemse going at it at 10 and 12. I mean, they had some magical moments for the Stormers playing 10 and 12. I think they understand each other, they feed off each other. And then obviously Damien, I think, is a very underrated number 12, because he can also be really physical. So he's got quick feet to skip past defenders and maybe get you that momentum. But yeah, that combination is going to be, I think it's going to be, if the Boks manage to do something on Saturday, I think that combination will be vital.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Scott Robertson's reaction when he heard that Rassie announced the team on Monday. But looking at that All Black team as well, I don't know if you guys had an eye on it yet, but it seems Scott Robertson is telling Rassie, well, if you can make a couple of changes and put in some young guys, I'm going to do the same. I'm looking specifically at the winger, Leroy Carter. He will be getting his debut, if I'm not mistaken. And then the scrum are fairly young and inexperienced as well, about 22, they're around 22, 23.
Yeah, because they've got a scrum of crisis.
Yeah, injuries there. And he's playing against the 35-year-old Kobus Reinach. So interesting that Cheslin Colby has got a debutant, former sevens star in Leroy Carter playing against him. Carter, obviously, Olympian as well, played Paris Olympics. Chesy, of course, played Rio Olympics. And then I think that's that duel. And then the scrum of battle is going to be quite important. And where do you guys see the key matchups for this game?
Look, Carter is in Scott Robertson's view, the fastest man in New Zealand, the quickest guy, the quickest sprinter in New Zealand. So he's picked him on one wing, and he's now got Will Jordan on the other wing. If Carter's faster than Will Jordan, he must be very quick. So there, I agree with you that I think he knew what direction Rassie's going to go, and he's got pace to burn on his wings. The scrum half duel there. Look, so Rassie went for youth, energy, and vitality in the entire back line, except for scrum half, where he's gone for one calm head on the tiller. Look, I mean, Grant Williams. Look, he didn't on the surface he didn't have the greatest game last week, but we know that that wasn't his fault because he was getting awful ball out of the rucks. I mean, he wasn't getting protected. He was getting slow ball. It was a scrum half's nightmare last week. But look, Corbus came on. He provided the energy. He provided experience. And it's not a bad thing to have Grant coming on, particularly if you look at the direction. It looks like the Springboks are going to play with the backline that they've selected. And then you've got Grant to come on, which, as we know, he's one of the greatest game breakers in the world, and really good in that last 20 to 30. So I think it's actually a good selection to have the experience of Corbus there, particularly with Sasha is not that experienced. I mean, I know he's a special talent, but I think to have Corbus's experience and calmness there in that link between the forwards and backs is a good thing.
Yeah, it's going to be, for me, I'm looking forward to that duel between the debutant and Cheslin. If he is as quick as he says. And I think that's where we are going to see a much more open game this weekend than what we saw at Eden Park. I think everybody expected a lot of balls to be thrown around at Eden Park, and it really wasn't. It was basically played between the two 10-meter lines with a lot of box kicking. I think we're going to see box kicking on Saturday, but I think we're going to see a lot more counter-attacking. That is for sure. You've got Damian McKenzie at the back for the All Blacks this weekend. You've got Apalele Fassi for the Springboks. There's going to be counter-attacking galore. And so it's going to come down for me to who gets the best ball. The Springboks simply can't allow the All Blacks to dictate the breakdown again. They can't allow them to just lay on the one side or slow the ball down. They will have to clean with a lot more venom. And if I look back at that last sort of breakdown on their line where Adi Zavia stole the ball, and it comes down for me to, it was in the 75th minute, and you had Eben Etzebeth, who is in his 30s, trying to clean. We should have cleaned him 10 years back. Eben would have cleaned him out. The box would have got the ball. But you can't expect Eben Etzebeth to go 75 minutes in a test match anymore with the role he plays. So I would have loved to have seen an extra forward again on the bench, be it a lock or be it a flanker, because for me it's the Boks have had massive success over the last 4 matches by employing a bomb squad against the All Blacks. They didn't do it in Auckland. It was strange. They're not doing it again. I don't know what's Andre Esterhuizen's role going to be off the bench. It's anyone's guess again. But for me, yes, I would love to see, when you play the All Blacks, just keep that recipe, that bench recipe, either 6-2 or 7-1.
Yeah. Gents, I'm not going to put you on the spot this week. We've been getting some horrible predictions wrong. So let's steer away from the predictions because we have a double header against the All Blacks. We've got the Springbok women Saturday afternoon at, what is it? 2 p.m.
I think it's
2 p.m.
2 p.m. kickoff.
Yeah, 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
Yes. And they had a taste of what it was like facing the Black Ferns, although it was a Black Ferns 15 down here in Cape Town just before the World Cup. But they've had a taste of what it's going to be like, and they produced some quality rugby here. So hopefully on Saturday they can do the same and just know that they've got nothing to lose. They are playing for something big. They are playing for their country, and they've got absolutely nothing to lose. So they can go all out. We know things didn't go the way against the French like they wanted to, but also a lot of girls got time to play
Yeah,
on the field. So it wasn't a full strength team. Mike, you've been
yeah.
covering them. What can we expect?
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think the important thing is that there's no expectation. I mean, the Black Ferns are the defending champions. They've won the Women's World Cup 6 times, which is substantially more than any other team. Look, and we know where the Bok women are in their sort of development sort of journey, if you like. So I think the next World Cup would be when we start to say, okay, now the Springbok ladies should aim for a semi-final. Making the quarterfinals already, they've shot the lights out. Given where they are and where they've come from, I mean, they've developed quite quickly over the last year, but they're still some way in their cycle from hitting their full potential. And the All Blacks are at the top. So it's unrealistic to expect the Springbok women to beat a team so far ahead of them in their team journey. But you know what? It's it's knockout rugby. It all depends on how the South Africans start. If they have a bad start, well, then it could be a long day. But you know, nine of Sway's brain rested, nine of his front liners, if you like, for the French game. So they're not psychologically scarred from 57-10. But yeah, look for the South African ladies to make a fist of this game. They've got to start well, and then they can get some confidence. And maybe they get an intercept try or something, and just
Yeah.
but they've got to start well. Otherwise, it's good night, nurse.
Yeah, it's definitely for me. I'm looking at this game and I'm thinking about the magic of sport, where on any given day something can happen. And believe me, guys, if the Bog women get over the line here, this will be one of the greatest upsets in the history of rugby. Not only
Yeah,
a women's World Cup, but in all of rugby. So, but they've got a free hit, as Mike mentioned. They've got a free hit. They can swing for the fences.
yeah,
They mentioned it yesterday that their goal was a quarter final, so they can just go out and enjoy themselves. The
yeah,
pressure is on the Black Ferns because they are the
yeah,
favorites. So there's all the
yeah,
psychological warfare already going on from Swiss, just saying, "Oh no,
yeah,
we can just go out and play." It's the All Blacks and that or the Black Ferns that need the result.
yeah.
So yeah,
And
and I agree they have to start quickly. And I think they played against the Black Ferns team. That was probably the second or third string New Zealanders that were here. But I
Mm-hmm.
think for that match, it was clear where the South Africans dominated up front. They came up with some nifty maul work. The scrum was good, and I think that's going to be sort of the platform. Take
Yeah.
going into this match is that good set piece, start well, and then hope for the odd lucky bounce, and you never know.
And if I can just add one thing here, uh, older Liverpool soccer fans, I'll never forget I think it was around 1986, 87, when there was an FA Cup final between Wimbledon and Liverpool. And Wimbledon came from absolutely nowhere and snuck a FA Cup final win over a star-studded Liverpool. The older fans will know what I'm talking about because that was the shock of the century.
It can happen. It can happen,
It
guys.
can happen, definitely. It can happen. Gents, thank you very much. We are looking forward to that double header. It's two Springbok sides taking on two New Zealand teams. A cracker of a rugby weekend awaits us. We are also looking forward to some proper Currie Cup semi-final matches. We will hopefully next week have a bit of that. It's been a very enticing South African competition where the smaller teams again smaller teams, I say with inverted commas, and all the respect to them, because they've been showing up while we know what the franchises have done in the Currie Cup. Gents, thanks for joining me again. We'll be back next week to decipher that last of the All Black series against the Boks, and then we'll also take a bigger look at the women and how they have gone and where we see them ending up in 4 years' time after taking all of this in. You've been tuned into another episode of The Last Word on Rugby. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't yet, click that like button, subscribe to our channel, The Clutch, ZA, and we will be back next week with another action-packed episode. Cheers, guys.